All right, so I'm going to quickly review printing and go over kind of some changes that we're going to be doing for printing our self-portraits. The first thing you need to do is get a blank piece of paper, and you're going to center your image on the page and trace it in Sharpie. So what this is it's essentially a template so that you can line your paper up and center your image every time you print it. So I generally just kind of eyeball it. If you wanted to, you could measure it out. I'm pretty good at eyeballing stuff. So we're gonna call it close enough, and I'm tracing it in a dead Sharpie. So now I know that this is where my matrix goes. Okay. After you have your template, you can kind of set it aside. You'll want to try and keep that as clean as possible, but then you can get out some ink. So the ink you have at home is, again, this water-soluble ink. You should know by now that you have to kind of work quick. You'll probably want to take out more than you did on your last project because we are covering a larger surface area. So I'm going to roll some ink out. Remember, you're looking for two things, so the texture and the sound. So I probably got out a little bit too much right there. So what I'm going to do is scrape off a little bit and roll out what I have on my brayer. That's a little better. With this one, you're gonna notice that you'll probably have to re-ink more often because, again, you're carving a larger area. You'll also want to ink up in a bunch of different directions to make sure you're getting all of the pieces of your matrix. And again, you still have to work pretty quick because this ink dries fast. So I'm running a little bit low on this, so I'm gonna re-ink. And keep going. Make sure you hit the edges of your matrix really good, because those are the areas that tend to be salty. And again, I can already tell this is drying really quick, so the quicker you can work, the better. So we'll call that good. I think it could use a little more, but we'll see what it prints like. Okay. Now I'm going to carefully put my image in the spot that I've outlined. I'm going to line my paper up according to the template and press it down with my hand. Here's the important part. Most of you printed with just your hand. That's not going to give you enough pressure to pull a good print. You want to use a baron of some sort. So the one we have in class looks like this. If you're at home, you can use a wooden spoon, but you need something that lets you press down really hard and go around the edges really well. If you're just trying to print with your hand, it's not going to be a successful print. And you might struggle with this. You might decide, you know what, this is too much. I'm just going to carve and then come print in class, because we're actually going to be using the press in class. So if you're having a hard time, it could be because you're not using enough pressure. It could be because you didn't have enough ink. It could be because you let the ink dry. So come into class if you're struggling and print in class. So I'm just pushing down, making sure I hit the edges, all the spots in between. And we'll call that good. We'll see what this looks like. So now I can pull back a corner, and it's a pretty good print. That's what it looks like. It's a little bit salty in areas, so I either didn't use enough ink or the ink started to dry. You'll also notice that the first print is usually a little bit salty. Now that my matrix has some ink on it, the next time I ink it up, it's going to print a little bit darker. But again, this ink is challenging, so make sure you have enough ink right here at all times. If you don't have enough ink here, you will never have enough ink in your print.